What if the secret to unlocking unprecedented productivity and meaning isn't just about working harder, but working deeper? Welcome to Bookish Mind, Season 10, Episode '08, where we conclude our journey through Cal Newport's groundbreaking book, Deep Work. Our mission in this deep dive is to really distill the powerful, pragmatic insights from the very conclusion of Deep Work. We want to reveal how focused concentration isn't just, a nice to have, but actually a crucial skill for achieving truly valuable things. We're going to pull out some surprising facts and some really compelling personal stories that illustrate this power.
Exactly. And this final section of the book, it's so vital because it moves us beyond those kind of abstract debates about tech and distraction.
Yep.
It zeroes right in on the tangible, the real-world impact of cultivating deep work. It emphasizes that this isn't just some theoretical concept or like a moral stance against Twitter. It's a pragmatic recognition, really, that the ability to concentrate deeply is a skill that directly gets valuable things done. It's all about that measurable impact.
Okay, so to really illustrate this, let's dive into a story that's become, well, absolutely legendary. The founding of Microsoft. Picture this. It's the winter of 1974. A young Harvard student, Bill Gates, sees the Altair, which was, basically the world's first personal computer kit, staring back at him from the cover of Popular Electronics.
Right, that famous cover.
Yeah. And he instantly grasps this immense opportunity to design software for this groundbreaking machine, specifically using BASIC. So what does he do? He drops everything completely. Along with Paul Allen and Monty Davidoff, he spends the next 8 weeks just furiously hacking together that BASIC interpreter for the Altair.
8 solid weeks.
And this story, it's often cited as proof of Gates's incredible foresight, his sheer boldness, right?
That's how it's usually framed, yeah.
And that's what makes it legendary. But what's truly fascinating and often overlooked is this crucial trait highlighted in more recent interviews and Walter Isaacson's work.
Okay, what's that? Gates's preternatural deep work ability. His intensity during that 2-month stretch was just astounding. Paul Allen, even reflecting on it now, describes it as a prodigious feat of concentration.
Wow.
Gates would literally collapse asleep on his keyboard in the middle of writing code.
No way.
Yeah, sleep for just an hour or two, then wake up and pick up exactly where he left off. That kind of sustained, uninterrupted focus, it's incredibly rare.
So it wasn't just having the big idea, it was that almost obsessive execution. Isaacson in The Innovators really zeroes in on this. He summarizes Gates's unique tendency toward depth, saying, the one trait that differentiated Gates from Allen was focus.
Exactly.
Allen's mind would flip between many ideas and passions, but Gates was a serial obsessor. It really highlights how that singular, relentless focus set him apart, even from his brilliant co-founder.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really underpins the core argument for deep work. It's not some moral statement about how we should live or even like an attack on technology.
Right, it's practical.
It's simply a practical acknowledgement that the capacity for deep concentration is a skill that yields tangible results. Deep work isn't important because distraction is inherently bad. It's important because it allowed Bill Gates to essentially launch a multi-billion-dollar industry in less than a semester.
Less than a semester.
That's incredible.
That's a direct, measurable impact on the world, powered by extreme focus.
And it's not just historical giants like Bill Gates who demonstrate this power. Newport himself, the author of Deep Work, he's been a depth devotee for over a decade. And even he admits he's regularly surprised by how effective it is. His own journey really puts this whole theory to the test.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about his graduate school experience where, by prioritizing deep work, he was able to consistently write a pair of quality peer-reviewed papers each year.
Which is pretty good for a student.
It's a respectable rate, yeah. But what's even more remarkable is how he did it. He achieved this while rarely having to work past 5 on weekdays or work at all on weekends.
That's the amazing part. That's a true rarity among his peers, They were often burning the midnight oil. He was producing top-tier research without the typical academic burnout.
But then, as he neared his transition to a professorship, he faced a common dilemma. He knew he'd lose that relative luxury of minimal time commitments you get in grad school.
Sure, the schedule changes drastically.
Yeah, he was worried about integrating enough deep work into a much more demanding schedule and, maintaining his productivity. It's a common fear when you move into a role with more admin, more meetings, more students, basically, more shallow work, right? How did he tackle that anxiety?
That's a great question because a lot of people just, well, let that anxiety paralyze them. But he chose a proactive response. Instead of just stewing, he created a concrete plan to, as he puts it, bolster his deep work muscles during his last 2 years at MIT as a postdoc.
Okay, so training.
Exactly, preemptive training. He introduced artificial constraints, like a strict rule against working at night to mimic the tighter schedule he expected as a professor. He even took extended lunch breaks for running and eating back at his apartment, carving out that space. And to really crank up the pressure, he signed a deal to write his fourth book, So Good They Can't Ignore You, during this exact period. Talk about adding intense demands.
Wow, okay. So he intentionally put himself under intense pressure. And to compensate, he really had to refine his methods, didn't he?
Totally. He started carefully blocking out and preserving those deep work hours, like guarding them fiercely against any incursions. He also developed this incredible ability to work through complex thoughts while on foot, logging many hours each week, just walking and thinking.
Interesting tactic.
Plus, he became obsessive about finding those perfectly disconnected locations for focus, like under the dome in the Barker Engineering Library in summer or the Lewis Music Library in winter for pure silence. And I love this detail. He bought a $50 high-end grid-lined lab notebook to work on mathematical proofs, believing the expense itself would make him more careful in his thinking.
Huh. That's next-level commitment to the craft.
It truly is. And what's really surprising is the outcome. After becoming a computer science professor at Georgetown in fall 2011, his obligations did, just as he expected, drastically increase.
Right.
But his intensive training paid off big time. His research productivity didn't just hold steady, it improved. His previous rate of 2 peer-reviewed papers a year, those papers rigorously checked by other experts as an unencumbered student, actually leapt to an average of 4 good papers a year as a much more encumbered professor.
He literally doubled his high-quality output while taking on a significantly more demanding role. That's incredible.
It really is.
That's already impressive, doubling his output while his commitments soared. But it gets even wilder, right? During his 3rd year as a professor, from fall 2013 through summer 2014, he decided to push his deep work habits even further. He entered what he calls an extreme phase. Was there a specific catalyst for that, or was it just like a drive to see how far he could push it?
Well, there were actually 3 main reasons he cites for this recommitment to depth. First, he was writing this very book, Deep Work, a 70,000-word manuscript, which obviously placed a sudden, significant new constraint on his time.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, the looming tenure process, just a year or 2 away, that demanded a statement about his abilities, that critical review and promotion stage in academia. And this was especially important with plans for a second child on the way.
Right, the pressure was mounting.
And the third reason was more personal, almost like a challenge to himself. He'd been rejected for a well-respected grant. So instead of just complaining or wallowing, he decided his response would be to increase the rate and impressiveness of his publications, to unequivocally prove his worth.
Wow. So to meet these new demands and, frankly, prove a point, he became ruthless in turning down time-consuming commitments. Started working even more in isolated locations outside his office. And this visual really sticks with me. He placed a tally of his deep work hours in a prominent position near my desk, and actually got upset if it didn't grow fast enough.
Yeah, talk about accountability. That's a level of focus that goes way beyond just standard discipline.
Definitely.
And he doubled down on that MIT habit of working on problems in my head whenever a good time presented itself. So whether walking the dog, commuting, solving proofs on subway rides, or even while shoveling snow, when his son napped, he'd be pacing the yard thinking, stuck in traffic, methodically working through problems that were stumping him.
So it wasn't just scheduled blocks, it was anytime, anywhere.
It was relentless. This wasn't just about cramming before deadlines. It was an everyday push to grapple with consequential results. He was kind of always on, always thinking deeply.
And the result of this extreme effort, it caught even him off guard, right?
Yeah.
During the same year, he wrote a 70,000-word book, and his oldest son entered the infamous terrible twos. He managed to more than double his average academic productivity again, publishing 9 peer-reviewed papers, all while still maintaining his rule about not working in the evenings. 9 papers. That's staggering.
It is absolutely staggering.
But okay, for someone listening, does this extreme depth sound sustainable? Was there a cost to that?
That's the crucial follow-up, isn't it? And he's the first to admit that this year of extreme depth was perhaps a bit too extreme. He says it proved cognitively exhausting. And he plans to moderate the intensity going forward. So while it was incredibly effective for that short burst, it wasn't a sustainable pace, even for him. But this experience powerfully reinforces his core point. Deep work is way more powerful than most people understand. It's what allowed Bill Gates to capitalize on that opportunity and create an entire industry. It allowed the author himself to double, and then more than double, his academic productivity while writing a book. It truly is a transformative experience, he argues, to leave the distracted masses and join the focused few.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've heard these incredible examples, but Newport is clear. The deep life, of course, is not for everybody.
That's right. It requires hard work. It often requires pretty drastic changes to your habits. For many people, there's a certain, maybe false comfort in that artificial busyness of rapid emails, social media posturing.
Yeah, checking things off a list, feeling busy.
Exactly. The deep life, however, demands that you leave much of that behind. You have to be willing to disconnect from the constant pings and notifications that give you that false sense of productivity.
And there's that inherent, maybe, uneasiness that comes with any genuine effort to produce your absolute best work, right? It forces you to confront the possibility that your best is not, well, not yet that good. It's often safer psychologically to just comment on culture from the sidelines than to step into what he calls the Rooseveltian ring.
Yeah.
Which is a direct reference to Theodore Roosevelt's famous Man in the Arena speech, highlighting the courage it takes to actually strive and achieve something meaningful, even if you might fail publicly.
It takes vulnerability. But, and this is the powerful counterpromise, if you are willing to sidestep those comforts and those fears, and instead you struggle to deploy your mind to its fullest capacity to create things that actually matter, then you'll discover, as others have before you, that depth generates a life rich with both productivity and meaning.
That's a strong promise.
It is, and he quotes the writer Winifred Gallagher, who famously said, "I'll live the focused life because it's the best kind there is." And it seems pretty clear that both the author Cal Newport and Bill Gates, in their own very different ways, would strongly agree.
Yeah, that's the powerful takeaway here. Deep work isn't just about doing more stuff. It's about doing what truly matters, creating things of real value, and finding significant meaning in those efforts. It's about unlocking a level of impact you might not have even known was possible for yourself.
So maybe consider this. What might you be capable of achieving? Or what insights might you uncover if you committed to cultivating deeper work in your own life? For a creative person, maybe this means blocking out hours away from email to truly brainstorm without interruption. For an analyst, maybe it's dedicating protected time to complex data synthesis.
Right.
For a student, perhaps it's finding your own version of that Barker Engineering Library dome or those transformative subway-proof solving moments Newport described. It's a really powerful question to consider. Where could you find your own deep workflow?
A great thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.